locations via the miracle of Skype, it's the 40th anniversary season of the LTN Hour. Let's talk NASCAR with your host, Todd Bailing, co-hosts Brian Schmidt, PJ Noodleman, and producer Dangerous Dan Margetta. Call the show anytime at 414-421-7901. And now, the creator and host of the fastest hour in radio, Todd Bailing.
And welcome to the program. Glad you could join us. Todd Bailing in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona for the winter. Joined by my three cheesehead partners, beginning with Brian Schmidt of Ootsburg, USA. Hi, Brian.
Morning. Getting down to the nitty-gritty here. Only 2 races to go before we head to Phoenix.
After today.
Yeah, well, 2 races to go and then Phoenix. Yes.
Oh, two and Phoenix. Yeah, that's what you said in the first one. Yeah, okay. I'll be quiet. And PJ Noodleman over in Trempealeau, Wisconsin. Hi, PJ.
Hey there. I love Homestead, Miami. I wish more people would attend the race. It's just such a great track to race on.
My favorite track, and I've never been there. Dan Margetta in St. Francis, Wisconsin. Hey, bud.
Hey, I went 20 years in a row that place when I had the last race of the year, and it's a great track for racing. Like, again, I wish more people come in the stands. It's a cool place to watch a race, and it's a cool area to hang out in.
Brian, the attendance for a double header yesterday was a little bit lacking.
Oh, yeah, that's an understatement. I mean, you saw some pictures of the grandstands there. I don't know that I've seen anything like that in NASCAR. Now, granted, Florida's been through the ringer in the last month, with a couple of hurricanes and such, but, a lot of those people travel there from other locations, and Miami area didn't get hit by it. I mean, you're talking 100 miles to the north is where most of that hurricane stuff happened, and just to see it that empty, and then here earlier in the year that, they're talking about trying to move it back down there, it's going to be hard for NASCAR to move something down there when the people aren't supporting the event.
But today might be a different story, right, Brian?
Well, I looked it up, and there's still plenty of seats available. I mean, if you're in the greater Miami area and listening to it, you can go buy a ticket and still sit in the stands. There's I would say, let's say it's a little over 3/4 full as far as tickets sold. And then, of course, there's a lot of tickets that are also sold to be, sold on the off market. So a lot of those seats are also going to be empty. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it would take. And I just think, I don't know if it's the location or what it is. I mean, it's just Phoenix opens their arms up for the championship ever since they moved it there. Now, granted, the first year was COVID. But since then, I mean, you get off the airplane, you see the championship logo when you get there. They really embrace the championship event. And I don't know if Miami would do that and if they'd be able to do that down there.
Well,
I don't know.
Dan was there. Dan should be able to. What did they? Were they all in Miami?
Yeah, I mean, they were. They had parties on South Beach. I mean, they had a free concert.
They did have something at the airport when we went down before too for championship weekend there. So it was very similar.
It's just South Florida is just a crazy area. I mean, South Florida is more about being seen and being at the parties kind of thing. I think that's why the F1 race does so well there, because if it doesn't seem like a event that all the A-listers want to go to, then it seems like people don't seem to show up for it.
Yeah.
They have problems supporting their sports there. I mean, the Marlins have always had a problem getting people to their events. I mean, the Dolphins have been around so long. I think they support it. But, Florida's a tough sell for live sports, on something that's a regular basis. Big-time special events, they support. Super Bowl, World Series when it happens. But I think it just seems like it's always been a tough sell for these type of events. Even IndyCar. When IndyCar was down there, they couldn't sell it.
I think Dan nailed it, though. I mean, down there, it's such a superficial world. It's all about being seen and not necessarily giving a rat's ass about what's going on.
Yeah, it's an event, though. Remember, it's a big event. By the way, after Florida has pretty much been bitch slapped with terrible weather and hurricanes and flooding and storm surges and the like, I don't think it was a big deal down in the southern tip of Florida, was it?
No, they didn't get really any of that down there. They got a little bit of rain and stuff, but that particular area is fine. You get up in Tampa, Tampa St. Pete's was hit really hard. Orlando got it pretty bad. Even parts of Daytona got it on the backside of that. The thing kind of cut a swath right up the I-4 corridor, the last one anyway. So Miami's pretty much unscathed.
It's kind of funny. The state of Florida, which we were just mentioning, has had a lot to deal with. We've got the NASCAR race on the southern tip of Florida. Plus, on the other end of the state, the Green Bay Packers are playing in Jacksonville today. And again, I'm not sure they had very much damage. All the damage was more in the middle of the state. So good luck to the Packers today, too, by the way. Interesting that both events are going to be in the great state of Florida today.
And you kind of got to give it to the track. I mean, they tried. I mean, this place got reconfigured how many times? It was originally like a Indianapolis-type flat oval.
Right.
They made it, with not I don't say square, but Indy's got like those rectangle type corners, and they made it like a regular flat oval. And then like that, then they put the progressive banking, and it really, I think, it was a hit.
This is the third configuration, right, Dan?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they hit a home run on this one too. It's got that progressive banking, and I guess it's the Cajon groove is up along the wall, the way they make it sound. And by the way, on our way, we got to Arizona yesterday. I got to listen. I didn't see one lap of the race. I listened to the truck race and the big doubleheader down there, which I was positive the way they made it sound had this huge crowd there, and then the Xfinity race afterwards. So I didn't see the Connor Jones incident, getting into Matt Mills and putting a guy in the hospital overnight, until this morning when I watched a replay of it. So, this is quite a place for a race and quite the weekend for it. By the way, how I guess the crowd wasn't overly wasn't overestimated yesterday at all, was it?
No, that was small. That's about as small as you could get. One of our listeners was down there. Looks like Brian Lefebvre was there, and he said, "Lucky if there are 200 people there." I know there's more than that, but it wasn't good.
That's how things work. It will be televised on NBC today. The green flag is at 1:35, which of course means it's head-to-head with the aforementioned Green Bay Packers today on different ends of the state. So you get the race on NBC, the Packers on Fox, and of course you'll be able to hear it here on the game 97.3. I thought I'd just throw that in there for those of you who'll be listening on the radio. They raced, as I mentioned, 2 races yesterday. Austin Hill, the very popular Austin Hill, won all 3 segments of the Xfinity race and has, as they say, punched his ticket to the championship event. And he may not be the most likable guy, but, results are kind of hard to argue with. Would you agree, teammates?
Yeah. I mean, it's surprising because usually he's only good on the, what used to call restrictor plate tracks. Wins at Daytona. I think he's going on 3 years in a row for that Xfinity race during the 500 weekend. Won at Atlanta a couple times. Wins those races, but boy, he put it together on an intermediate track yesterday. That was kind of surprising, actually, to see that car that strong. So you got him and Allmendinger locked in. Justin Allgaier, Cole Custer looking pretty good points wise. Nice cushion. Cole Custer 28 ahead. You got Chandler Smith, Jesse Love, Sam Mayer, and Sammy Smith all on the outside looking in.
As I was listening, they mentioned that Sam Mayer said something that he lost a cylinder, and yet not long after that, he was running 4th, and I couldn't quite figure out what had all happened. Did they say anything more on television?
I didn't hear anything, no.
Okay, yeah, interesting. He had issues of one sort, and yet the car came back. Grant Enfinger, Kermit the Frog, won yesterday in the truck series. Is he going to win? Is he going to win out? My God! And Ty came back and finished second. PJ, you were listening on the radio, weren't you?
Yeah, I like that radio app so you can listen to the scanners. They didn't really show it on TV, but yeah, at the time Ty was 5th going in that last lap, and I was listening to Brandon Lyons, his spotter, kind of helping him navigate through lap traffic, and Ty made a heck of a move getting around lap traffic kind of as a pick to get around Corey Heim and others, and moved up from 5th to 2nd in the last waning moments.
He went from +5 to +22 as we head for Martinsville next week. So he's in a better position than he was. Cheese hit. It's the Cheesehead Gang rooting for Ty. We'll be back.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit bonafidesafe.com.
From racing engines to street engines, long blocks to turnkey packages, or complete custom engines, just ask and Wagner Automotive can fill your needs. All backed by many years of racing experience. These years of experience have provided reliability and performance that customers need to win races. Wagner's has been building championship-winning engines for top teams from NASCAR to short tracks in your backyard. This expertise has carried over to street engines they supply to top custom car builders. The Wagner Company, in the heart of Wisconsin, is outfitted with the state-of-the-art machinery necessary to design, manufacture, build, and test custom engines and their accessory parts. Dyno services are independently available for anyone needed to test their engine. Wagner's Company can also provide you or your company with production CNC machining or welding services. All your questions and requests are handled personally by Casey Wagner. Just give us a call at 920-394-3557 or visit our website at wagnerautomotive.com.
Sunday, the Packers are in Jacksonville for a matchup with the Jags. Doug Russell begins coverage from the Potawatomi Sportsbook at 8 a.m. Kickoff at noon on Milwaukee's home for Packers football. 97.3 The Game.
Tyler Reddick will start on the pole today, 167.452. He got around in 32.248 seconds. It turns out after last week at Las Vegas, he really, really needs to win a race. I'm not even sure he'll be able to make up that kind of point deficit, Brian. And speaking of points, how are we sitting going into this third from the end race?
Yeah, it's kind of, there's a lot of separation right now when you look at the way the standings are. You have, obviously, Logano's locked in. You have Christopher Bell, he's 42 points to the good. Larson, 35 to the good. William Byron, 27 to the good. And then you have your guys that are on the outside looking in right now. Hamlin, he's 27 out. Reddick's 30 out. Blaney's 47 out. And Chase Elliott, who he doesn't seem to be overly interested in what's going on when you see how he talks and how he races, he's 53 out. So lots of separation, a lot of points still on the table, though. You have all your stage points for both rounds or both stages today and both stages next week. So you can make up a lot of points, but it's still it's not as close as you would have think, going into these last two races.
Don't you find that Chase's ambivalence is kind of odd to watch? He's like, I guess maybe he's setting himself up for disappointment. Yeah, well, we tried. Well, it isn't over yet there, Chase. You could, you could give us some kind of good old college try kind of an attitude here for all your many fans who are counting on you to do something. It's like watching Aaron Judge in the World Series. There's just nothing going on right there. Your best players are supposed to be at the most critical times of the year, I
don't necessarily want to defend him, but I will say, when you are it's like Dale Jr. was. When you're thrust into the spotlight, there's so much pressure put on you when you come from a family that has a storied history in NASCAR. I'm not trying to defend him by any means, but I do think it's kind of that Dale Earnhardt Jr. effect as well, where you sort of become a little bit numb to it, and it's like the luster is kind of off the pumpkin a little bit for him.
And he's got his championship already. He won one. So unlike Dale Jr., Chase can say, I won a championship. It was the COVID year. You didn't have a full house at Phoenix to celebrate it like you would have expected.
And he's rolling off 7th today, so it's not like he's, way back in the field like a back marker.
The segments are at lap 120 and 250. It's a 400 lapper. On arguably the most competitive track and the best racing of any track in NASCAR. And don't ever try to turn this into a road course or you're going to have a major mutiny on your hands. At Las Vegas last week, of all people who got second wind from the week before after his business at the Charlotte Roval and was actually thrust into it after the 48 car was light. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be in the playoffs yet. And now Joey Logano is the first car into the Final Four for the championship at Phoenix. Unlikely, especially when you look at the fact that Christopher Bell had the dominant car, the dominant performance, and yet came just a little bit short and was pretty unhappy about it when it was all over. Bell is I would say still underrated for how good the guy is. Would you guys agree?
He is completely flying under the radar. And every time somebody's talking about the chase right now, they're not really even mentioning him so much. They're focused more on the controversy of possibly Denny Hamlin getting in there, or Joey Logano, obviously, Larson. They're talking about Reddick, and oh my gosh, he's going to get. It's like Bell always seems to be under the radar, and he has a tendency to continue to fly through to the playoffs.
I'll tell you that giving Joey Logano's team, and I think I said it last week on the show, giving them a second chance was the last thing the field wanted to see, because that team, they just have a way of closing when they have the opportunity to do it. Now, they haven't run all that well all season long. In fact, today he's starting at the back.
Amazing, isn't it?
The one thing I don't like about this format is now you have a team that doesn't really have to. They don't really have to do much. They literally got to show up, fire up their car, and just participate for the next 2 weeks. But that team at Phoenix is so good. I mean, if that championship race was held here, I don't know that I'd have as much confidence in them in winning the championship as you put them at Phoenix. And he's been good there all the time. And the Penske cars have been so good there. Boy, they're going to be tough to beat in 2 weeks when you get there.
Sliced bread is his nickname.
And they've said, like, I think it's like 3 out of the last 6 years, the team that's won the first race in this last segment of the season has gone on to win at Phoenix like 4 times, because they've had those 2 weeks to do nothing but work on that race.
And how do you make a sandwich? You put down a slice of bread, you put some ham and cheese, and then you put the last slice of bread on there. So that's exactly how it stacks out for him for this next stretch.
He may not be a likable guy to some people. Actually, he as Mike Joy once said, he gets it and he says all the right things. He's a great interview. He's a very intelligent guy. He's a great race car driver. But I guess we've had our share of things that have made us mad about watching Joey Logano over the year. He's unapologetic. He's overly aggressive. But here's something you might want to keep in the back of your head. If Joey Logano is in the top 2 on a green-white checker, who would you pick other than Logano to win the race?
Nobody.
He is so good on those. Oh, my God. He's got it. He's got it going on, and there's a guy it's kind of hard to bet against. Now, with the pressure off, I think he's even more dangerous today. Let's try that. Everybody else is going to pick. You know what? Let's get us some track position. There isn't much time. The tires are okay. Let's just try and win 2 in a row. A little bit like old Enfinger did yesterday. This might actually work into it for him. Look, how can you be so middle of the road at best all year long and peak at the very end of the season? This is how champions get crowned.
Did he really peak? I mean, they strategized it. He won on a fuel deal. That's why Bell was so mad. I mean, Bell dominated the race, did everything right, and those losses hurt the most because you didn't do anything wrong. You were almost perfect, and you got beat by some guy playing a fuel mileage game, and it just happens.
And one more lap, right? He would have more than likely got past. I mean,
and probably. NASCAR's loving it all.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Now you actually got a figure person involved in this, a guy who has opinions and and we'll tell it like it is. That's what they want. You got a story there now.
We talked it over amongst the four of us. Dan Margetta is the closest we have to a lawyer, and he's going to give us an update of what's been going on in court when we come back.
The checkered flag is waved over the racing season at the Fair Park in Plymouth. Congratulations to the champions, Brad Miller, Will Source, Travis Schmidt, and Ben Schmidt. Plymouth Dirt Track Racing thanks all the drivers and pit crews for their ongoing dedication. The loyal, dedicated track workers are the best at what they do every week. A big thank you also to the many businesses for their sponsorships, and of course the fans who make it all possible. The green flag will wave for another season next spring. We'll see you there.
Miller Sales and Service of Random Lake is where to go for a trailer, no matter what you're hauling. Tom and Jerry Miller have been selling trailers from B&B, Trophy, and Bravo for over 50 years. Quality and integrity is what put them on the map on the corner of 57 and K since 1939. Home of the number 89 dirt and asphalt cars of Brad Miller. That's Miller Sales and Service. It's where to go for a trailer, just 20 minutes north of Milwaukee. Call them 920-994-4358.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
To the middle of the line, gets to the slot, Ennis goes, shoots and scores! The Milwaukee Admirals continue a road swing as they travel to Winnipeg to take on the Manitoba Moose. Middle of the Wolves line, he'll skate to the far. Down a shot, heads in, rebound, and he scores! Face-off Friday is at 7 o'clock, pregame at 6:30 on the Big 920 and your iHeartRadio app.
Before we get to the court proceedings, I'd like to say a little reminder. Today is would have been Dick Trickle's 83rd birthday, and I remember this. This is the weekend that Phoenix used to race. It was either the last weekend in October or the first in November, and they always had a party out here. We kind of named it after Boring Bob after a certain amount of years, but it was really Ted Lake's party from the beginning. And Dick would always show up, and it was his birthday weekend, and it was kind of a big deal. Another reason to have a couple of drinks with Dick Trickle. And we miss him. He would have been 83. Kind of amazing, isn't it? All right. So, Dan, make this simple for those of us who are really not versed in and any kind of court proceedings whatsoever, but the wrangling over the NASCAR lawsuit with the 2311 and front row teams happened this week, and kind of streamline it a little bit for us, would you?
Well, they filed that injunction last week to keep their charters, and they wanted the court to have an injunction that says you can't revoke their charters while this case is going on. NASCAR filed its response this week, arguing against that, and they made probably three arguments that were the main arguments there, and I thought two of them were pretty good. One I'm not so sure about. One of the arguments said that the teams can still race. You know, it's not anti-competitive because we're not telling you can't race. You can race as an open car. It's not like we're saying you can't run this race if you don't have a charter, which that kind of I can see them leaning their way. And they also said the monetary damages that they're claiming they're going to get by being unchartered. Yeah, they're not going to get paid as much, but if they win this case, they're going to get that money at the end. I mean, it's not like they may not lose that money because they win the case. They'll get paid for that. But the argument they made about this exclusivity provision kind of said that NASCAR argues that that's good to have exclusivity provisions because it provides a better product for TV broadcasters, sponsors, and it's pro-competitive because of making that product better. Everybody does better because the people, like the broadcasters will pay more for the rights and sponsors will want to be involved in it. That's a little shaky, I think, because that's almost you look at other sports, it's almost saying like they can't have free agency. Like, it's good to keep, Judge in New York and Ohtani in LA because it's good for the overall sport because the number one TV market has all the money kind of thing. And that that might be a little shaky on that ground. So it's basically their response to the injunction, which the hearing is November 4th, so it's coming up. We'll see if the court grants that. If they don't, 2311 and Front Row could have their charters, I don't know if they revoked, but they wouldn't have it at the end of the year. They wouldn't have them going forward. And another thing that came out of that deal was they haven't filed for the transfer yet for the Stewart-Haas charters, that they're going to get 2311 supposed to get one and Front Row supposed to get one. NASCAR's got to approve those transfers, and they haven't even asked for it yet or filed for that. So that's kind of.
And doesn't it seem weird that this is moving along quite rapidly? Because it seems to me anytime there's a court case, it takes a long time for it to get heard. But yet this one's moving along pretty rapidly.
It is. And, NASCAR, what a time for all this to be taking attention away from what they really want, which is their championship, the playoffs and leading to a champion. And it's all happening at the same time. The great success that it takes to be a champion, and yet this whole negativity around NASCAR and it's being having a monopoly over stock car racing. This is what makes it successful. One time I asked Bobby Unser, why don't you race more in NASCAR? He had some kind of book signing he did at the Boston store downtown Milwaukee, and I went there, and there was just a handful of people that showed up for this thing. It was on a weekday afternoon, and he said it's because I just don't like NASCAR being the king of everything. They don't have anybody that tell them they can't do something, and that's essentially what's going on right here. 2311 and Front Row are challenging the supreme authority, and it's worked so far, and I can't imagine why we think this is going to be any better for the sport. But the fact that it has to be decided in court is what bothers me.
And also you see some of these things. You find out that in this negotiation has been going on for a while. It seems like I think 2311 was part of the main group for the negotiating group to begin with. And I think as it went on, I think their demands, they wanted this what they're asking for now, and maybe they weren't going to get it. I think other teams kind of saw that maybe that wasn't able to do it. That's kind of why NASCAR went and talked to everybody else on the side and kind of got them around. So part of their argument is also, it's like you can't use this just to get your way, in negotiations, because it didn't go with everything you wanted. Part of negotiations, then you get some stuff and some stuff you don't. It's interesting how this is going to play out. It's still kind of a crazy deal.
NASCAR played along with the deal as long as they could, and finally they just got sick of hearing all the BS and said, okay, here's the deal. Here it is. You've got till 5 o'clock today to sign this, or you could lose your charters. Okay, go ahead and keep, arguing. But here's the way it's going to be. And these other teams who've been in NASCAR for years and years, they knew NASCAR has reached the end of their rope. Yes, little pats on the head. We'll give you your little driver counsel. Yes, we'll take into advisement. Yes. But you realize NASCAR is a dictatorship. That's the word Bobby Unser used with me. It's a dictatorship. Well, it works. It has worked. What they're trying to do is change the overall business model of NASCAR by this lawsuit. And is that going to be good for the sport? It hasn't worked well in other sports. Now has it?
We don't know. That's the big unknown. It's like, okay, you're trying to change it, but sometimes is that change good? I mean, it could end up, going the opposite way and being bad. I remember Rusty Wallace said a long time ago too, and he said every time he went down to argue with Bill France down in Daytona, Bill would remind him, Rusty, you flew down here in your private jet. You have a nice, mansion type house. You have all this stuff, because this is all. Is it really worth, going to war over this? Because look at you all. Everybody's doing well in this thing. Now, is everybody doing as well nowadays? That's kind of what 2311's argument is.
No. Right, and that's I think the main point is it's not what it was. You created these charters, you put a big value on these for these teams now, but yet the drivers are making less than they did before. They're a lot smaller contracts there. Teams get sponsorship, and NASCAR ends up taking some of that sponsorship to use for themselves. And once you opened it up to, if it was just NASCAR series and you want to come and race in my series, you bring a car, you come here, you run it, and you're going to play by our rules like you do in all these other racing series, sure, then you can do that. But now when you created an environment where you have to have a charter to make more money and you have to do all this type of stuff, and the drivers got to buy this special parts just for this car and all that. That's where you open it up, as we've said before, to where I think there needs to be more back and forth, and NASCAR can't be the dictatorship that it is.
The financial climate has changed over the years. Drivers used to make 10, 20 million a year. That's not happening anymore. They come into sport making only 500,000. Yeah. Sometimes you wonder. Choose your battles carefully. We'll be back.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit bonafidesafe.com.
From racing engines to street engines, long blocks to turnkey packages, or complete custom engines, just ask and Wagner Automotive can fill your needs. All backed by many years of racing experience. These years of experience have provided reliability and performance that customers need to win races. Wagner's has been building championship-winning engines for top teams from NASCAR to short tracks in your backyard. This expertise has carried over to street engines they supply to top custom car builders. The Wagner Company, in the heart of Wisconsin, is outfitted with the state-of-the-art machinery necessary to design, manufacture, build, and test custom engines and their accessory parts. Dyno services are independently available for anyone needed to test their engine. Wagner's Company can also provide you or your company with production CNC machining or welding services. All your questions and requests are handled personally by Casey Wagner. Just give us a call at 920-394-3557 or visit our website at wagnerautomotive.com.
If you're a fan of our Wisconsin sports teams, here's the perfect podcast for you. The Larrivee and LePay podcast with two Hall of Fame broadcasters. Wayne Larrivee, the voice of the Green Bay Packers, and Matt LePay, the voice of Wisconsin Badgers football and men's basketball. Together bringing you insights and guests talking Packers, Badgers, Brewers, Bucks, and more. Listen to the Larrivee and LePay podcast. Available anytime on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen to podcasts. Presented by UW Credit Union. Here for every you.
Speaking of podcasts, don't forget the LTN podcast, available on iHeart, iTunes, or wherever you download your podcasts. And, of course, our partner, PJ Noodleman, has one as well.
Been a little behind on it after I got rear-ended at a light. It threw my schedule off. But I am going to have Father Gruba on before too long. Promise.
Right, there we go. And by the way, how you feeling?
A little better. Quite a bit better, actually.
This sounds like to me that those asses we watch on TV that beg for your business are talking right to you. You know,
one call, that's all.
Oh, we can't even say that, I don't think, can we? I don't know. But you know, have you contacted one of those upstanding citizens yet?
I have not. I just where I work, I'm getting some help with the whiplash, and yeah, I'm not a suing person.
Well, if you weren't, you got to be more like the commercials, I think, don't you? We have this just in. Bobby Allison won a race this week. I know what you're saying. Isn't Bobby Allison going to be 87 years old in December? Well, yes, he is. Well, I don't know what that has to do with anything. He won a race that wasn't counted for 53 years. Dan, I don't know if you remember, but we've had Bobby on this program several times over the 40 years we've been doing this, and he has mentioned more than once that he really was not tied with Darrell Waltrip with 84 wins because he won one in 1971. What was the circumstance?
It was that Bowman Gray, and they didn't have a full field of cars. They let, I think back then it was the Grand National Series was like the Cup Series nowadays. I think they called it was the Grand American. I think was the Xfinity Series now, or the Busch Series. And they let some of those Grand American cars in the race to fill the field out, which he was one of them. It was a Mustang, I think he was driving, and he won the race. And they kind of out for years and said it didn't count as a Cup win or a Grand National win back then because it wasn't a Grand National car that won it. And it's kept him tied with Darrell Waltrip forever. And yeah, he argued that a long, long time, and they finally decided to turn it. I think it's because we're going back to Bowman Gray for the Clash, and that's probably
that would make sense.
Do that.
They were in a tie for fourth.
Right. And now, it puts Bobby one up. Now, Darrell Waltrip's got a beef if he wants to come in. Back in 1990 at Wilkesboro, Brett Bodine's only win, that was a scoring mess up in that race, and Waltrip probably should have won that one. So, if you want to go back and look, we can. But then you start doing, that's what happens when you start doing that now. You start cherry picking every race. Darrell's got a win as a relief driver at Talladega in 1977. He got in a car for a guy that got sick, and he won the race. He didn't get credit for that win because the guy that started the race did, which was Donnie Allison, Bobby's brother. So.
Oh, my goodness. Well, here's something you might want to keep in the back of your head. Jimmy Johnson and Cale Yarborough are tied for sixth on the list, only one behind now Darrell Waltrip with 83. In 53 years, either Cale or Jimmy might just win one other race and break that tie. Of course, the problem is everybody's stuck in the same numbers there, and that would tie him with Darrell Waltrip, so we'd have to come up with something else. Unbelievable. Well, congratulations, Bobby. Kind of a neat pre-birthday present for you, and he was able to celebrate it this week. They even had a picture of him, and it was pretty cool stuff, that's for sure. So Penske, who is the owner basically of the Wood Brothers team, if not the owner, he makes the calls over there. It's their people, their equipment. It's called the Wood Brothers Racing Team. I don't believe Stewart, Virginia is where they keep the cars anymore. It was no more than a gas station over the years. Not that there's anything wrong with running a Cup team out of a gas station. My God, they did that in Random Lake, Wisconsin for many years. It wasn't a full-time deal, but I did see a Cup car parked in that garage. And I'm going, wow, this is a Cup operation up here, isn't it? Well, yes, it is. Well, this week, Jeremy Bullins, who has been the crew chief on the 21 car, was, I don't know, what are we going to say? Did he quit? Was he fired? Was he reassigned? Either way, they started cleaning house, and they started with Jeremy Bullins. Bullins has been a Penske guy for years. He's been on with other teams, right, Dan?
Yeah, I think he came in with Ryan Blaney, I thought, was he one of his first ones? And they moved those guys around so much at Penske. But yeah, he's been there a while and apparently no longer with the organization. Now, does that mean he's going to go somewhere else next year? Is that still got to be determined? Because
it's kind of late, to find other jobs. The lead engineer, Grant Hutchins, is going to be the interim crew chief through the last three races. Not that it's really going to matter. They're a, as we know, midfield at best, kind of a team that won a race and made it into the playoffs. But I guess the real key here is Josh Berry is going to take over that 21 car next year, remember, and they do not have a permanent crew chief named yet. Now, when you think about it, where is that crew chief going to come from? It's, again, late in the game to be assigning some crew chief who might be available. So, therefore, I mean, it seems to me that there is going to be someone from inside the organization that's going to get a promotion over there. This might, Grant Hutchins, they're probably watching him pretty close. What kind of a crew chief is he going to make as a lead engineer? Would he be the guy for Josh Berry? Maybe they could, come up together. It's happened in the past, and why wouldn't we try it now and see if it'll work for Josh Berry in the future? But this is
or maybe there's some moves we don't know about yet. Maybe maybe there's going to be another crew chief leaving somewhere else that just can't talk about it now because until the year's over. And who knows?
Bingo.
Still,
That's one of those deals where when Josh Berry takes that over, you sure hope that team starts running like the rest of the Penske teams. Not to throw shade at Harrison Burton, but let's be honest, he He just didn't have it. He didn't have what it took to be in the top, realms of the Cup Series. I think Josh Berry does. I mean, he's run up front when he's been able to, and if Josh goes over to that car and gets all the support that the other Penske teams do, that car can run up front and possibly win some races. I mean, that's what we certainly hope is going to happen there.
Yep, it'd be a pretty big deal if they could bring Josh Berry around and bring the resurgence of the Wood brothers. We'll be back.
The checkered flag is waved over the racing season at the Fair Park in Plymouth. Congratulations to the champions, Brad Miller, Will Source, Travis Schmidt, and Ben Schmidt. Plymouth Dirt Track Racing thanks all the drivers and pit crews for their ongoing dedication. The loyal, dedicated track workers are the best at what they do every week. A big thank you also to the many businesses for their sponsorships, and of course the fans who make it all possible. The green flag will wave for another season next spring. We'll see you there.
Miller Sales and Service of Random Lake is where to go for a trailer, no matter what you're hauling. Tom and Jerry Miller have been selling trailers from B&B, Trophy, and Bravo for over 50 years. Quality and integrity is what put them on the map on the corner of 57 and K since 1939. Home of the number 89 dirt and asphalt cars of Brad Miller. That's Miller Sales and Service. It's where to go for a trailer, just 20 minutes north of Milwaukee. Call them 920-994-4358.
From racing engines to street engines, long blocks to turnkey packages, or complete custom engines, just ask and Wagner Automotive can fill your needs. All backed by many years of racing experience. These years of experience have provided reliability and performance that customers need to win races. Wagner's has been building championship winning engines for top teams from NASCAR to short tracks in your backyard. This expertise has carried over to street engines they supply to top custom car builders. The Wagner Company in the heart of Wisconsin is outfitted with the state-of-the-art machinery necessary to design, manufacture, build, and test custom engines and their accessory parts. Dyno services are independently available for anyone needed to test their engine. Wagner's Company can also provide you or your company with production CNC machining or welding services. All your questions and requests are handled personally by Casey Wagner. Just give us a call at 920-394-3557 or visit our website at WagnerAutomotive.com.
Finally, a week without kicker talk.
And it is good! It is good! Yes. It is good! Brandon McManus, 45-yard field goal. Welcome to Green Bay.
Sunday, the Packers are in Jacksonville for a matchup with the Jags. Doug Russell begins coverage from the Potawatomi Sportsbook at 8 a.m. Kickoff at noon on Milwaukee's home for Packers football.
Oh, yes.
97.3 The Game.
And now the LTN Hour presents Dirt on the Dirt with Brian Schmidt.
The dirt season continues to wind down across the country here as we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. My list gets smaller and smaller as the weeks go by. We'll start Thursday in Middletown, New York, the Orange County Fair Speedway for the Short Track Super Series Big Block Modifieds, and Truck Series regulars Stuart Friesen grabbed the win up there. Pennsboro, West Virginia. Any dirt late model fans out there remember the name Pennsboro? That track's been closed since, I believe, 2002, but they opened it back up, worked it up, put some guardrail around it, cut down all the weeds, and raced there for 3 days with the XR Super Series, the Mason-Dixon 100. Night number one, $10,000 to win for the super late models, and Bobby Pierce showed up and took the money, picking up the win there. Friday night, Meeker, Oklahoma, the Red Dirt Raceway for the USAC Amsoil National Sprint Car Series. Matt Westfall grabbed that might be one of his first wins ever. He used to run dirt late models too, but Matt Westfall won the sprint car race there. West Memphis, Arkansas, Friday night, the Riverside International Raceway for the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series. Carson Macedo grabbed the win. Bill Baylog, another solid effort for him, finished fifth. That World of Outlaw race was supposed to run 2 nights. They rained out last night there, did not run it, so they move on to the World Finals in 2 weeks to finish out their season down in Charlotte. They did race Marshalltown, Iowa last night, the Harvest Hustle on the High Banks for the IMCA Modifieds. Trip Gaylord was your winner. In the IMCA stock cars, it was Dallin Murdy. Park City, Kansas, the 81 Raceway for the USMTS Modifieds. Jim Chisholm was your winner. Meeker, Oklahoma, Red Dirt Raceway, night number 2 for the USAC Amsoil National Sprint Cars. It was their season finale, and Justin Grant picked up the win. Logan Seavey is crowned the 2024 USAC Amsoil National Sprint Car Series champion. York Haven, Pennsylvania, the BAPS Motor Speedway. $10,000 to win for the 410 Sprint cars. Danny Dietrich was your winner. Down in Meridian, Mississippi at Why Not Motorsports Park, the Coors Light Fall Classic for super late models, $20,000 to win. Tyler Erb grabbed the win there. Bedford, Pennsylvania, the 7th annual Keystone Cup for super late models, $24,000 to win. Mason Ziegler grabbed the win. And finally in Pennsboro, West Virginia, Friday night's program rained out right before the start of the feature, so they made that up first. Another $10,000 to win. That went to Devin Moran. And then they reloaded and ran 50 laps on the half mile for $30,000 to win last night. And Bobby Pierce grabbed the money there.
Big year.
So lots of money to be had by the super late models. And that is everything for this week.
Hello.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, I forgot to turn my mic on. I shut my mic off because I was clearing my throat. Sorry. On to the asphalt. Things are slowing down there as well, too. Last night, the World Crown 300 at Cordele Speedway, the UARA, it's the United Auto Racing Association. Big winner of that 300-lap event was Michael Hind, picking up the $30,000. And in Victory Lane, he said he was going to donate $5,000 of that to the Bigley Memorial, to the purse down there. That's going to be at the Freedom Factory in Bradenton, Florida on Saturday, November 30th. Lots of Midwesterners going to be in that race as well, too. Lots of Midwesterners were down there as well, too, to run that race last night. Johnny Sauter finished second. He was looking good and strong in that Richie Waters.
For that thing, PJ?
Yeah, the winner got 30. I don't know what Johnny got for second. Do you?
I think it was 35,000. Is what I think it was, and I didn't see that for sure. But yeah, second place, Johnny Sauter, $20,000 for second.
Well, that makes it's better than a sharp stick in the eye for sure. Yeah, he really had a great run too. Sauter started up front because he qualified so well. I can't remember exactly where he qualified, but it was up front. He had a solid run all night long. Stephen Nasse finished 4th. Bubba Pollard was 6th. Gabe Summers made the trek down there. He finished 8th. Derek Kraus was down there as well. He finished 11th. Derek Thorne got tangled up in an incident kind of his own doing. He ended up 29th. And Austin Nason got wiped out in a first lap incident, ended up finishing last. It's
long way to drag your car to get home.
I know. I feel bad for them. But it was quite a grind of a race. It really was. But yeah, congrats again to Michael Hind. That's a big win for him.
Fresh off his run at La Crosse. He was that 69 car that raced at La Crosse that nobody really knew very much about.
You know what I like about his paint job? Because he's got that yellow front with the flames. It's easy to spot on any track.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he's been he has raced at a handful of Wisconsin tracks. Yeah, Dan, he has been to Slinger, hasn't he?
Yes, he ran the Nationals, I think, 2 years ago.
Yeah, I remember him. Nice kid. Got a little talent and a pretty upstanding young man. And that Billy Bigley race, by the way, coming up down there in Florida. That's
Saturday, November 30th.
Yeah, it's Thanksgiving weekend. So I don't know. Any kind of real race fans will probably be there. Wouldn't you say, PJ?
I saw a boatload of them last year, so planning to see them again this year.
And you and I'll be there. Well,
mm-hmm.
It'd be fun. I put a thing out on Facebook. Who's going to the Freedom Factory? And no, I didn't see any kind of response. So
I didn't see your post. So maybe
Johnny Sauter is going to go. I heard him say that in his interview after the race yesterday. Brian, you came up with a track that was out for over 20 years, and they brought it back for a race. It reminded me of that when North Wilkesboro had been sitting for a while and trees were growing up out of the surface and it was just run down as hell. Johnny Reiser, he worked for Roush running the Gong Show, which is it was a half TV, half actual tryout to see who would get a Roush contract, not a ride, a contract. And he talked them into, let's go to Wilkesboro and go and try and get that track all fixed up, and we can run the Gong Show up there. And he went and pretty much supervised getting that track into racing condition for the first time. That was right on Johnny Reiser. He did that.
And then they let it go again. And during COVID, Junior wanted to scan it for his iRacing thing. So they had to cut all the weeds and cut all the trees down again and get it ready for iRacing, and that's what really propelled him into opening it back up again and turning into what we have now.
And my somewhat suspect memory, I believe that's the gong show that Todd Cleaver won that first year. So we're glad you're tuned in. We got a few more things for you. And as we give our somewhat suspect picks when we come back.
Sunday, the Packers are in Jacksonville for a matchup with the Jags. Doug Russell begins coverage from the Potawatomi Sportsbook at 8 a.m. Kickoff at noon on Milwaukee's home for Packers football. 97.3 The Game.
Miller Sales and Service of Random Lake is where to go for a trailer no matter what you're hauling. Tom and Jerry Miller have been selling trailers from B&B, Trophy, and Bravo for over 50 years. Quality and integrity is what put them on the map on the corner of 57 and K since 1939. Home of the number 89 dirt and asphalt cars of Brad Miller. That's Miller Sales and Service. It's where to go for a trailer just 20 minutes north of Milwaukee. Call them 920-994-4358.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
To the middle of the line, gets to the slot, Ennis throws a shoots and scores! The Milwaukee Admirals continue a road swing as they travel to Winnipeg to take on the Manitoba Moose. Middle of the Wolves line, he'll skate to the far. Down a shot, heads it, rebound, and he scores! Face-off Friday is at 7 o'clock, pregame at 6:30 on the Big 920 and your iHeartRadio app.
And welcome back to the program. We've got some non-cup things here in NASCAR. We'll start with William Sawalich. Old Willie Sawillie. He's from Minnesota, but has raced extensively in the state of Wisconsin. Used to show up at the Dells quite a bit in race, and he's been in the Slinger Nationals and whatnot. Well, with Grandpa's with the help of Grandpa's money, they're in the hearing aid business. He's going to drive the Gibbs number 18 Xfinity Series car full time next year. He may have money behind him, but I got to tell you, that kid has got some talent, and we're going to see William Sawalich's name for some time, it seems to me. I mean,
he's kind of following right in the tire tracks of Ty Gibbs. You know, that's who he really reminds me of, because Ty Gibbs hopped in those ARCA cars and just dominated the hell out of that. You know, then hopped into the Xfinity cars and dominated the hell out of that. So you can almost see that going on with him.
Also, Frankie Muniz. Now, I never watched Malcolm in the Middle, and the little I've seen of Frankie Muniz, that is the show he was on, wasn't it? Malcolm in the Middle, I think.
I believe so, yes.
I don't really remember, to be honest. It could be Leave It to Beaver for all I remember, but he didn't seem to me to be the super talented guy, but he's name recognition, must have a little money behind him. He's going to be full-time in the Truck Series next year. I have just an odd feeling that he's going to be one of those mid-pack kind of guys that you're not going to hear much about, but you know, the fact that he was an actor always helps. Bubba Pollard, he's going to be driving this Sam Hunt racing car at Martinsville. I don't know much about the Sam Hunt team. I don't think they've ever won a race, have they, Dan?
I don't think so. They run pretty well, and it's at 20.
They've had some good runs, yeah.
They're kind of affiliated with Gibbs. I mean, they're the owner there is friends with Gibbs, because the Sam Hunt haulers always parked with the Gibbs haulers.
Okay, but I guess the real key here is that Bubba Pollard apparently has himself an agent now who's out pounding the bushes looking for deals for him, and this is how he got it, right, Dan?
I think so. And going forward, I think he's looking, he's available for other races, and he did well in his first race with Junior Motorsports. We'll see what he does in this car, and who knows, maybe, it all comes down to money again. You got to have some backing. But if the agent can find something for him, he's got a name everybody knows, especially in the South and up here.
another kind of a SVG deal, a little older guy. They're both in their late 30s, and so it'd be kind of fun to see Bubba make a rookie run. He's been compared to Trickle in the past. Of course, a lot of people get compared to Trickle, and there's nobody like Trickle, okay? But kind of a modern day type of Trickle, runs all over the country, wins races. Although he hasn't really won much, Brian. This hasn't been one of Bubba Pollard's best seasons, has it?
No, and he started the season off like gangbusters. I mean, he won that race down in Florida that Dan and I were at during Speed Weeks at New Smyrna, and then I believe he won the Rattler as well, and it looked like he was going to be off to one heck of a season, and kind of just fizzled about, I don't know, May or June, and I really haven't heard much from him or of him since, and I don't even know if he's been running many races since.
There you go. By the way, yesterday, if you had watched the race from Homestead, Connor Jones. Now, we don't know the name that well. He raced at the Slinger National. Dan, I think he rented a car from Steve Apel, didn't he?
Right. It was that black and gold 44 car, which is one of Apel's cars.
Okay. Well, I mean, he was okay. He's had a pretty good career so far, I guess. He's a young guy. He's got money behind him from somebody. But what he has is a kind of an entitled attitude, it seems to me. And he really didn't like racing very hard with Matt Mills. And Mills raced him a little harder than he thought he should have, than Connor Jones thought he should have, because, after all.
He hooked him. He hooked Matt Mills and sent him into the wall, and the kid's in the hospital yet this morning.
Yeah.
That Connor Jones stepped on his unit yesterday, as far as I'm concerned. Plus, he went nuclear on the radio, basically owning that's what he did. So NASCAR gave him a 2-lap penalty. I don't know. It's not the way you want to start. It's not going to draw sponsors to you. It's not going to have a team owner wanting you piloting their vehicle.
I can't imagine Duke and Rhonda Thorson would be much appreciative of that. And I mean, I don't know that I'd let him back in the building after doing something like that.
I mean, Duke Thorson loves controversy. He loves controversy, but not that kind.
No,
I don't believe.
No, not negative publicity isn't good.
See you later, kid. That would be my response.
Although, as Ted Musgrave once told me, if you can't be good, be spectacular. So there you go. That pretty much followed in that footsteps. All right, I'm going to stick with my guns. I'm going to take a car that is about 0.3 off the pace today, because sooner or later this year, somewhere along the line, Kyle Busch is going to extend his streak to 20 years. All right? I'll do it. I'll stick with it. I probably wouldn't if I hadn't opened my mouth earlier, but I'm going to take the 8 car today. All right. Teammates, let's see. Let's go to PJ for the second pick today. Let's try it out. What are you looking at?
I don't necessarily want him to win, because I'd never had him in my Final Four, but
here comes the 11.
Yep, I'm going with Denny Hamlin. It's going to make good championship weekend.
Nobody wants him, but he could win always. Yeah, so I understand. All right. Brian, why don't you go next?
That was my pick as well, but just so we don't have copies, because I have him in my Final Four as well, since she took the 11, and I want to see him in the Final Four as well, because I want the controversy and I want the sound bites, and media starts with me, so that's why we want him in there. I'm gonna take the 45, Tyler Reddick, off the pole. He's another one I have in my Final Four.
And Dan.
Let's go with Christopher Bell. He's kind of avenged last week's loss and put himself in the final. Although, don't sleep on the 5 car.
Right?
Nope.
Got dirt guys there starting first, second, and third, if you didn't notice.
Don't ever. Not my guy didn't. Don't ever sleep on the 5 car. Trust me. Thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. And for those of you who have been doing it for the last 40 years, my God, we wouldn't be here without you. And you wouldn't have heard this for 40 years. Real race cars have doors, even if they do climb in through the windows. Let's Talk NASCAR is produced and directed by dangerous Dan Margetta. Our engineer is Matt Losi. And for all of us involved with this program, we love you, and we'll talk to you next week, everybody.
This program has come to you live from multiple locations via Skype. Any and all comments expressed on this show do not necessarily express the opinions of this station, its employees, or advertisers. Your comments are always welcome at mail@ltnradionetwork.com. Find us at facebook.com/LTN Radio Network. And thank you for your support since 1985. Tune in again next Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time for the LTN Hour on the LTN Radio Network.